You welcome. Go. Welcome to the Ashes to Rubies podcast and live stream where we talk about life and recovery.
So much more.
A little bit more.
So much more.
No, a little bit more.
A little bit more?
One of the things I want to talk about really quickly, touch on, is cooking. Do you like cooking?
Okay. I do if I have time. Yes.
It was one of the first times that I've seen you very serious in the kitchen. Like you were going hard. You were making things up, being creative. You were bringing things together. You were going off. You were going off road recipe. Like you weren't even really looking at recipes.
Here's what I noticed yesterday.
I was very impressed.
What I noticed yesterday is that I have tried to do that other times. Like I have done that other times, but it makes me very anxious. Like I don't feel calm and peaceful about it. Like I get really stressed out. And so last night was the first time that I felt fine. Like when I was doing, like,
you seemed like there was a bit of tension, but I just thought it was good cooking. Like I just thought it was there was a lot going on.
Tension because I was like doing so many different things. And so the way that I can cook that's easy for me and that's manageable and not hard is just to make a meat and vegetables and a salad and maybe some sweet potato or whatever. Like that's how I cook.
What kind of noodles did you use?
I don't put things together usually.
Tell me the noodles you used again.
I used soba noodles.
Soba noodles. What's a soba noodle?
It's buckwheat.
Buckwheat.
And then I made there could be gluten in it. And then I made my own sauce for it.
I know.
I made my own sauce, and I know that I prefer very lightly sauced. And so I lightly sauced it the way that I would like to. And then I put the extra sauces on the table for everybody else to use if they wanted to.
Chef Vicky.
And then I just had lots of different things going on, and I burnt something and I didn't care. And
because it was kale, so who cares?
I knew that it was very possible that I would burn the kale chips. And so I did 2 batches. Yeah. Because I didn't really know what I was doing. So
yeah, great stuff.
And I really appreciated that people stayed out of the kitchen. I heard a little bit of murmuring.
Because there was some murmur.
I heard some murmuring. You were talking about me. It wasn't very flattering.
Was it about the burnt kale?
But I decided to ignore it and just continue singing.
Cooking makes your heart sing, maybe. I do the meat, so I was out on what I want to do is I want to bring added creativity to the things that I do, and so one of them is I really love the flavor of charcoal. So I have a propane grill and I have a wood pellet smoker, which neither of them have charcoal. So I have an addition. Hasn't really worked like I want it to, but it's like it sits over the burner, or you could like it's like a burn box, so you light it on fire and it infuses the charcoalness to the meat.
But work? Is this on the barbecue or the smoker?
It could be on both. I've not done it on the smoker, but I've done it on the barbecue, and I would say zero difference. Like you're not talking about it.
I'm not.
You're not.
I didn't notice it.
All right, let's get into our meditation today.
Thank you.
What?
For your.
Do you really appreciate me? Is that what you're gonna say? Okay.
2 things can spoil group unity: gossip and criticism. To avoid these divisive things, we must realize that we're all in the same boat. We're like a group of people in a lifeboat after the steamer has sunk. If we're going to be saved, we've got to pull together. It's a matter of life or death for us. Gossip and criticism are sure ways of disrupting any group, any fellowship, any community. We're all in our fellowship to keep sober ourselves and to help each other to keep sober. And neither gossip nor criticism helps anyone stay sober. It doesn't help anyone do anything. Am I often guilty,
especially in the kitchen,
of gossip or criticism? That wasn't happening in the kitchen. It was happening in the living room. Meditation for the day. We should try to be grateful for all the blessings we have received and which we do not deserve. Gratitude to God for all his blessings will make us humble. Remember that we could do little by ourselves, and now we must rely largely on God's grace in helping ourselves and others. People do not care much for those who are smug and self-satisfied, or those who gossip and criticize. But people are impressed by true humility. So we should try to walk humbly at all times. Gratitude to God and true humility are what make us effective.
So what sinks the boat?
Gossip and criticism.
What keeps us afloat?
Humility.
And
something else?
Gratitude.
Oh, gratitude.
So we can
humility.
combat, and I think the spirit of criticism and the spirit of gossip is a spirit, and we can combat those in the opposite spirit. The opposite spirit being gratitude and humility.
I should be most concerned with combating it in my own self.
Yeah. But if I hear criticism and gossip,
yes.
Can I come at it in the opposite spirit of gratitude and humility? So maybe not correcting everybody. Oh, but I think we can actually stop. We can actually stop criticism.
Doesn't it talk about that right here? People do not care much for those who are smug and self-satisfied.
So people that are critics and people that are gossips very often are smug and looking to be self-satisfied, like looking to be justified. And so when there's somebody talking about an organization or a personal relationship or something in a very critical, or like, I think gossip is like, I don't need to know that about that business or that person or like, I just don't need to know that about that. I think we do
How does that go? Because that is something that we've been practicing for a few years now, of not engaging in gossip. And that is actually one of the lines that I have tried to say to, and it works well with good friends. Like it works well with good friends with whom we have talked about, like, we don't want to be people who gossip. And so that is actually one of the lines that, like, it's truth. I don't.
So you would say,
said, like, I don't think I need to know that about them. Yeah. And then the other person realizes, and you're right. Hey, I shouldn't have gone there. Or I had a friend come back to me and say, hey, I just wanted to say thank you because I noticed when I was talking about such and such, you didn't respond. And then you just moved on to something else. And thank you for giving me that grace of, like, not engaging in it, you know, because they were like, I shouldn't have, it wasn't helpful what I had said about, you know, and it was, I think for me, oftentimes, like, I'm trying to process something and I thought I needed to process it verbally. And what I've realized is I actually don't need to process it verbally. I actually need to process it with God. Yeah. And so I've gotten a lot quieter about stuff like that. Like anything, if someone's behavior is frustrating me, or I don't understand their behavior, or it's confusing, I don't need to go to somebody else to talk about it. I need to talk about that with God.
And then with the critical part, like I can see that very easily, like even on our little trip to Toronto, and we go to this church, and it was very young and it was very hipster. Is that the word, hipster? The boys with the bags and the tats and the cool shoes, and it was like, I don't mind that. And the music was very jumpy, and I was like, I was a little critical, and there was no air conditioner, and the pastor yelled at us, and it's like. And then I was like, but there was so much so then I wanted to just switch gears. I caught myself, and I just, and then we're coming out, and some young person's like, John Ruby. And I was like, oh, hey. And I was like, I didn't recognize him, but then he just said he put on labels from kombucha because of Daniel D. And I was like, oh man. So we got a really good conversation going. And then another guy, because it's a church plant from Australia, and then an Australian guy comes up and starts talking to us, and he had come from Australia 70. And there was a lot of things to be grateful and positive about, because
you felt welcomed.
We felt super
cared for.
They are over the top welcoming. Like, we got to bring that into our church. Like, okay, greeters. They're high-fiving. They're like pouring drinks. Yeah, it was cool. They have welcome packages and all that stuff. So then to sink the boat, criticism and gossip. To keep the boat afloat in the opposite spirit would be
humility and gratitude.
All right. Let's
so our prayer for today. I pray that I may walk humbly with God, I pray that I may rely on his grace to carry me through. I pray that for you.
And you. And you. Amen.
Thank you for joining if you joined us live. Thank you for listening if you're on the podcast. And we will see you again another day. I hope that you will take this through your day and reflect on it and allow it to change you.
Amen. Keep the peace, be of good behavior, and we will see you tomorrow.